everyone to the second episode of The Yard. The Yard, as you may know, is part of Commissary Club, which is the first social network for men and women who have criminal histories. My name is Richard Bronson. I'm the founder and CEO of Commissary Club. And as usual, I am joined tonight with my two dear friends and commissary teammates. Number one, Mr. Victor Lombard, who is better known as Divine. Hey, Divine, how are you?
Great.
Nice to see you. Divine, Divine, many people already know, but he is a prominent tech entrepreneur, and he's also a successful rap artist and songwriter and media mogul. You should check him out on YouTube. And I'm also joined by the big man, my friend Seth Sundberg. Hey, Seth.
What's up, Richard? Hey, everybody.
Seth, as you may know, is a former NBA basketball player. He played for the LA Lakers and taught a young Kobe Bryant everything he knows. Everything he knew, I should say. Like Seth and like Divine and like myself, we've all done time, and we've all come together here to just hang out, basically. It should be an interesting show tonight. We have two guests joining us. The first guest is named Coss Marte. Coss is the founder and CEO of CONBODY, which is a fitness company that's based in New York, and Coss has blown up. He's a very, very successful entrepreneur, beginning with his days supplying most of Wall Street with a lot of blow back in the day. I met Coss years ago through his participation in Defy Ventures, where I once worked. And where Seth incidentally also went through. So hello, Coss, how are you? Nice to see you.
Good, thanks for having me. And I apologize for being late. I just ran from teaching a class.
So you really are like living that whole athletic life, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to join. Come to the real yard.
The real yard. I mean, the weight pile.
Coss, how many burpees you got people doing?
Tonight they did 125 burpees.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm an old man. Just basic facts here. And we have another guest that I'll introduce when he gets here. But before we get started, I just wanted to share a couple of ground rules here on the yard. And there aren't many. Number one, from our point of view, if you've done time, you are our brother or sister, period. You're part of our family. As a family, we don't necessarily always agree with each other, and sometimes it can get a little heated within a family, but no matter what, we've got your back. Number two, the criminal justice system, let's face it, it is a soul-destroying, miserable national disgrace that destroys lives and families and communities. There's really nothing very good about doing time. But having said that, you know, this human spirit somehow or another finds a way to survive it all. And one way it does it is it finds humor where you wouldn't necessarily expect to find it, like in a place like prison. So while we want to show respect, certainly, for our shared experiences, and for some of us, for a lot of us, there was a lot of sadness and heartbreak around that. And a lot of us are doing work now that's serious and important, and we want to respect that. But we also want to remember that there were funny times when we did our time, that there were crazy conversations that went on almost daily, and that there were an incredible number of characters that we came across. So we want to enjoy that too. And we want you and everybody listening in to remember those days and to understand, you know, that also went on. We let the conversation here go wherever it wants to go. This is not an interview. This is not a podcast. You know, many of us here have been on a million of them. We've been guests, we've held them, whatever. The world doesn't need another podcast about criminal justice. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to use the chat function, which is located on the bottom of the screen, and type in your question or your comment. Adrian, who's also on our team, is monitoring that. And Adrian will let in a few people over the course of our 90 minutes to join the conversation. If you want to be part of the conversation, please let her know what it is you'd like to talk about. And no matter what, please be nice to her. Last time so many people wanted to join this conversation and they were yelling at her and everything else. So that's not the way to get in on this, okay? So please don't get mad if you don't get in. It'll happen next time. So let's get to it. I would ask, and maybe we'll do this every week as we do the yard, and maybe this will be the last time we ever do it. But do me a favor, everybody, sort of close your eyes just for a minute. Yeah, I hate these kind of things too, but close your eyes and just imagine if you did time, if you were in prison, that you're back there. I know that's not something you necessarily want to do, but humor me here. You're back in prison and maybe you've got 90 minutes of some free time where they're going to let you out in the yard where you can get some fresh air. Okay, you got that image? You're probably sitting at some kind of picnic table or something, or maybe you're on some bleacher seats or something, and you're hanging out with a bunch of your friends from that you've met while you've been in prison, just like you did yesterday, just like you're going to do tomorrow, okay? And maybe one of your, now you can open your eyes, one of your friends starts the conversation. And maybe it would be me in this particular case. And I might turn to my friend Coss, who I'm doing time with, and I might turn to him, I go, hey, Coss, I just realized it was your birthday yesterday, wasn't it?
It was.
It was. It was our friend's Coss's birthday yesterday. So when I thought about that, because I saw on Facebook, I received a notification of happy birthday, of course. I immediately was sucked back into my prison days where there were birthdays spent while you were down. And, you know, that's pretty a weird place to spend a birthday. Do you remember your birthdays when you were in prison, Coss?
I think every one of them.
You do? And how were they celebrated? People who weren't there have no idea.
So I was drinking something that looked like what Divine was drinking.
Okay, hold on. We were talking about this before you came on, and we were all talking about our experience with hooch while we were in prison. So give me an idea what you might have been drinking.
So I was actually like making the hooch. I was, I was a person that was making I had about 3-4 gallons under my bed.
How'd you make it?
So I would ferment grapes or grapefruit or, whatever fruit I had, I'll leave it there to rot for a little bit. Then just use the hot pot water and then doing like Tang or Kool-Aid, mixing that up. And then I'm feeding it sugar and then I'm burping it. But then I was also.
What does that mean, burping it?
So if you leave the closed top for too long, the whole bottle's gonna pop. And one time it did pop on me, and it looks like a volcano. But what I did, I used to steal the coffee filters from the library of the prison, get the coffee filters, use bread, mold the bread, put that in the coffee filter and dump it in, and so I get the yeast for the alcohol in there. And so, and I'll have alcohol in 8-9 days. And I'll have and I'll definitely prepare for my birthday. So.
Was this good to drink or was it disgusting?
Yeah, no, we started experimenting. I mean, like you put like Kool-Aid, Tang, it starts tasting a little bit better. You can smell the alcohol, in the beginning you start, experimenting and it tastes nasty, but There was one time that I made a mistake. I was like, let me try to extract the alcohol out of hand sanitizer. It was not a good idea. I ended up in the toilet for like, like 2 days. But yeah.
How did you celebrate your birthday? Okay, so you had drinks to share with your
Yeah,
buddy.
I had drinks. I probably had a joint. And then the spider leg joints. And then I'm telling you the truth. And then we were making cheesecakes. So the people's famous cheesecakes, people were like using Chico sticks, crushing up Oreo.
They were using what sticks?
Chico sticks. The Chico sticks that they were selling in the commissary.
I don't remember them.
That's an old school joint right there. The Chico sticks. They go way back.
We're crushing that up with graham crackers or Oreo cookies, and then you get the actual like cream cheese, and you blend that in. We use like the strawberry jelly, get a good flavor in there. A whole bunch of sugar. I mean, it was the most unhealthiest stuff you could find. Yeah, I mean, just all that stuff.
Did you celebrate birthdays in prison, Seth?
Yeah, nachos. Like anytime we had an excuse to do
nacho parties.
Nachos, man, it was like, I worked in the kitchen for a lot of the time, right? And I never took anything out of the kitchen because I just like, this is gonna be a slippery slope. But anytime it was nachos, it was like, all right, I don't care how it gets there, but we gotta have tomatoes, we gotta have bell peppers, we gotta have onions. Like this is nachos. This is the only thing I live for.
Straight up, the nacho party was crazy every weekend.
What did you make for your birthday, D?
And sometimes everybody get together. They would make they would do some cakes inside I never knew how to make them, but they would make these cakes inside the microwave, and they have like the thick cakes. They create like a cream cheese like type of frosting, throw it on there. It used to be crazy, man. And it was crazy because if you had a certain clique or whatever, they get like your birthday card for you. Everybody would sign it. Yeah. Everybody would bring like a can of tuna, mackerel or something, a nacho. Put the whole thing together. It used to be live though, man. We made the best of it, man. But nacho time was always my favorite time, man. The nacho parties.
I was amazed. I was in Florida in prison, so there were a lot of Latin guys, a lot of guys from Cuba. And these guys, I never would see them, in the cafeteria for a meal. And I would wonder, like, what are they doing? Where don't they eat these people? What have they figured out? And then someone said, no, they're making their own dinner. And where I was, they had like this wall of microwaves.
Right.
And these guys were like making amazing meals.
Crazy.
No.
Yo, them microwave meals is crazy, man. It's unbelievable how they would hook meals up, man.
Yeah.
Tuna casserole, like.
We were just talking about right before, like people at the camp, you just take off and go eat. Like,
right, yeah.
Come back and have like, we're talking about hooch, right? We're just talking a story about like, I went back to the camp one day and it was guys like, hey man, you want some tequila? I'm like, did you make it? Like, or he's like, no, I got it from the store.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it was in Atlanta camp.
No, I don't want any, but damn.
I didn't see that. I don't know, maybe they had it, not me.
Well, we were like downtown Atlanta. The Atlanta camp was right downtown, so it was like, you're right there. Church Chicken's up the street, McDonald's up the street. They go there at nighttime, leave, come back. They would sell sell the fish fillets. It would be crazy, man.
Nice. You were living large in prison.
I was trying.
Hey, do I understand? Is 5 now joined us?
Yeah, 5 said he's on deck. 5.
Is 5 here? Age?
Hello, General.
How y'all doing?
Oh, there he
you hear me?
is. Look at this good-looking guy. Hello, Mr. 5. How are you, sir?
Busy as always, but good. I actually was in the yard for a minute listening to y'all, man. I feel like I was right in the mix of a conversation like that.
That's great. So everybody, this is Mr. 5, and forgive me if I get the pronunciation a little wrong. Mr.
Everybody
5, Mualimm-Ak. Is that right?
Mualimm-Ak, yes.
Mualimm-Ak.
Mualimm-Ak.
He is a friend of ours. That sounds like a mafia thing. He's a friend of ours.
He's a friend of ours,
He's a friend of ours. of
friend of
our
ours.
thing.
Yeah, right.
But so do you? I mean, your friends call you Five, right?
Yeah, totally. Everybody calls me Five. Even
Okay.
inside, actually, which is crazy because my last name was so complicated. Even the COs was like, Five, let's go. Like, let's go.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
And so Five is a very, very prominent and active player in the criminal justice reform movement based in New York, which is where Coss is also. I don't know if you know Coss. He is the president and CEO of the Incarcerated Nation Network at the Citizens Emergency Response Network. So you have to tell us about that. He's also a writer and a film producer, and he's a guy who is doing a lot of good work and has a big heart and is helping a lot of people along the way. So we welcome you with much appreciation and respect for what you do.
Five.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man.
So it's all true. So, you know, Five, we were just talking, it was Coss's birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, man.
Yeah. How old are you, Coss?
I'm young. I'm the youngest one in the room. I'm 35.
Are you
Okay.
making a crack about my age now? I don't know, what's that all about?
got
What did I
You're the
do?
second youngest in the room.
You guys got no hair or is white hair?
No, for white hair. Nice.
I think it's running away, but you know, it's still there.
All right. Don't get too cocky, Junior. I can see your future as well. And that is the way it goes on in the yard, by the way.
That's a fact.
So we were talking about birthdays in, you know, when you're down. You had birthdays while you were in prison, obviously. How was it? Was it celebrated? Did you do anything?
Yeah, you know, for us, I was in a Max A. Most of the time I did my time in Max A's, Max B's in New York State. Birthdays was a time when everybody tried to come together. You know, we did the cards, but the cards meant something because to get a card signed from like 7 different blocks, which people can't even interact on because the runner's running around with these cards, it's sort of special, you know? I had the honey bun with the joint in it, you know? Everybody hit you in the yard, they pull up with a stick, and hit you with a honey bun with the joint lit, you know? And it becomes a moment because everybody feels that pain. I unfortunately didn't get a lot of visits. You know, I wasn't the visit room person, but that was hurtful when I seen people come back because in the Maxes, the yards run in between rec and visit runs. So a person coming out from visit comes right to the yard and pulls up to like one of the benches where he's isolated because interacting with people after a visit tends to lead to emotions.
Yeah.
You know, so birthdays were always hard times and everybody sort of knew that. And in some of the spots, like in Auburn, it really meant special because Cornell, the university, was there. Some of the staff would bring in cards, like sneak you in a little birthday card, you know? But for me, I was one of those people that didn't have a lot of outside connection and communication because inside I was really an active organizer and I had connections with other groups and not really close family. So I was the guy who everybody went to for birthday cards. I was the artist who did portraits on a card and a pop-up card.
Right.
Hey, is any of the stuff behind you things that you've done?
Oh, actually, I
something.
shouldn't be showing that. That is actually, this is it's a commission piece. So I'm doing a portrait of Layleen. She was a transgender who was killed in solitary. I say she was killed because the conditions itself can cause you to hurt yourself and it's irresponsible for the society. But she also died in solitary confinement in New York City, which is one of the things that I prominently fight against, you know?
Really? You know, it's so interesting, you know, Divine, you spoke of, and Coss, you know, and Five, about how, you know, your birthday was sort of celebrated among other, you know, other inmates, and that they did, you know, in their own way, something nice, and they went out of their way, you know, for you, which, you know, I suspect, I mean, if I had to think before I went away, how do inmates act towards each other? You know, there's this common, you know, kind of sense that it's a jungle and everyone is there as predatory and everybody is there to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And certainly that goes on, right? But there's also, you know, I mean,
that's a lot of camaraderie. It's a lot of love, man. Like
Right.
the cheesecakes was something. Like, don't get me wrong. I was in the spot where Deacon was a famous guy in the state. He made hooch. So I had like a little peanut butter jar delivery to me in the yard. Guy come up to me, hit you with the Kool-Aid jar. Like, hey, bro, this came from Deacon. And I'm like, I can't drink this now. He's like, you got to drink it before the go back. Like, you better drink it now. And so I'm twisted in the yard, like really just really overly intoxicated. I'm next to the poker table and everybody's coming up, asking me for stuff. It felt like a scene from The Godfather. Like people was asking me for favors and portraits of their kids. And then, a couple of guys, honey buns and a few treats. But it really, in the max age, you're 23 in a cell. So you're 23 and 1. The only time you're actually interacting with somebody is whether you're in program, whether you're in work, or unless you're like an insane person like me that runs around and do everything. I ran like 4 mods. I wasn't supposed to be working that much. I taught Jewish classes. I taught religious services. I was the kosher inspector. So I worked in the kitchen as a kosher check. I was the block porter. I was the tier porter because we don't get water in prison. We have to get hot water from a machine we made. So we had the guys in the mech shop make a water buffalo and with PVC pipe and all that. And that's how we get hot water. Because you don't take showers. You have to take showers in the yard. And you get that every couple of days.
What's a water buffalo?
Yeah.
A water buffalo when you
for 5 years. That's the first. This is one of the first terms that I've ever heard.
He was in state though, Seth. You did state old state time, right? Bob?
No, I did state. I went to
old state, but no Fed.
Yeah, I did Fed time too.
You did Fed time too?
So
okay.
I did that in the beginning. They sort of superseded, grabbed me up. And then I did federal holding. In New York State, if you have federal charges, they'll ship you to Albany County for 2 or 3 years while you're waiting. Right. So I was in Albany County for like 3 years and then came back and then went upstate.
Wow.
So it's a lot. I did a little bit of a tour. But yeah, water buffalo in the max, they don't give you hot water. And so you're locked in your cell 23 hours a day. You cook like on some real, I'm talking about, this is real MacGyver level shit. Like I'm electrocuting my water every day to get hot water. That's how I eat coffee. I make a stinger and I electrocute the water. Got to stay away from it because you'll kill yourself.
The stingers,
yeah. And then the water buffalo was a contraption of, this is going to be a problem. So decades ago, uncles of mine like Herman Bell and other political prisoners created these groups, and the groups insisted that, the facilities have to have these individual devices. And so the people from the mechanic shop, some workers that worked in the garage took a plastic PVC tank and built a PVC frame for it. So now it holds like about 50 to 100 gallons.
Wow.
And then we put it on the cart that actually the little garbage can goes on. And so I can dolly it into the slop sink, fill it with hot water. And if you're lucky, because only made men had buckets. If not, you just ass out, because buckets were allowed in like the 90s. So they just passed down. I got my bucket from a guy who had a 70 something number with a porcelain hot pot. Like
grandfather. Yeah.
So the water buffalo gave us hot water, and the block porters would not get paid for it. This was like an illegal position, but it exists in all of the facilities. And your payment was, I get to get a key lock, because key lock is a shower on the tier. It says 6 floors, 46 cells on every floor, 2-sided, 250 people to a building. And so there's a lot of fishing, going down across. Yeah. And so they created these block porters. Like, if I let you out, I'm not going to catch anybody fishing. So now my whole job is to do these illegal passings. That's my job.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Hey, Coss, do you have guys that you were in with who you remain friends with now afterwards?
I mean, I don't, I keep in contact. I talk to them every so often. Some people I see on the block still, but it's not like before. When you're in prison, you have a way tighter relationship. You said, I do keep in contact with one guy who I send money to every so often, and he's actually coming home in 3 years.
Kaz, and you in New York, right?
Yeah.
Yo, we got to get up. You got to get up. We got to get up, man.
I'm in the Lower East Side.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, once you come out, you try to keep in contact. You write letters, you send money over, you send people packages. But life gets to you, man. Unfortunately, you get busy. I hit the ground running, so I didn't forget about anybody from the inside. But if people are trying to contact me, I try to get back to them as soon as. But I get jail mail all the time too, from random.
You do?
Yeah.
It's
Now-
kind
now
of
you're back on the yard right now.
it's kind of like, on the one hand, when you first get out, it's like you dream about prison. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
For you
Yeah,
to,
yeah. I mean, I was waking up in my bed thinking I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I didn't even have a bed when I came home. I was living on my mom's couch, but I was like waking up and still, because her couch was like so tight. So I thought my bed was still small, where I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? So now I have like a big ass bed where I could like roll 5 times and you know, I don't feel like I'm gonna fall off.
Shaq's bed.
Yeah.
But it's like you come
But I
out.
still sleep on one side. I don't even move. I'm like, you know,
Just knowing you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can spread out a little bit. On the one hand, you come out and it's still so fresh, and it's like your whole life is just focused on prison and the people there, and you connect with people, you know, whatever. You're not supposed to, because if you're let out on supervised release, you're specifically prohibited from talking to other people who have, you know, a record, which is the craziest fucking thing in the world. You come out of prison, you don't have any money, you don't have a home, you don't have a job, you don't have nothing, you don't have a car, and yet you're supposed to immediately get a home, get a job, get your life together. But here's the trick. It's almost like a game show. You got to do it, but you're not allowed to talk to anybody who has a record.
Who's
So
done
you
it?
can't get any advice, any help. No one could hook you up. No one could say, hey, there's a job over here, you know, and it's like a completely, you know, like, who the hell are the people you know? And so you remember, you connect with those days, you hold on to them, you dream about them, and yet you also want to get on with your life and put it behind you. And I have people who, you know, I'm sort of basic, you know, in touch with a little bit, like on Facebook or whatever. But I don't know. There's a part of me that never wants to forget, and there's a part of me that wants to desperately forget.
And
I
especially
think that's what made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fi, but especially working in the space, like I mean, I constantly have dreams, and you know, I think if I would have been doing another career or working another job, you know, I would have quickly forgotten. But like working in the space and talking about the criminal justice space so much, like it just brings back a lot of
So
flashbacks.
tell everybody about CONBODY and what's sort of the derivation of it, you know, and what it means to you now.
Yeah, so I mean, CONBODY is we call it a prison style fitness boot camp. We hire people coming out of the prison system to teach fitness classes. We've trained over 50,000 people today, and I've hired 47 people coming out of the prison system, have a 0 recidivism rate right now. I mean, it's been a blessing to, you know, grow this from the ground up. I started this in the streets, in the park, and just nonstop for the last almost 8 years, you know, since I've been home.
Congratulations, man.
What's the attraction about a prison workout, do you think, to the, you know, the yuppies in Manhattan that you work with?
Yeah, mostly I get like young professional females. They like the criminal justice aspect of it. You know, we're giving back people another opportunity, so they want to support a gym that's doing that instead of like a gimmicky type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's a whole bunch of commercials out there that tell you that you're going to lose like 50 pounds in 30 days, and they give you all this bullshit. You know, what we do is nonstop, real hard workouts. It's all body weight. We don't use any equipment. And, you know, it's just put yourself to the limit, you know?
Yeah, I think the first time I seen Coss an ad for CONBODY, I think like the first 10 images, he had like no t-shirt on. And I was like, what's this? And my boy, CB, we had send a package. That was one of the first businesses. You know, everybody come home, they want to do a package business. And so my boy, Chris Barrett, was like, nah, this is CONBODY. You know Chris Barrett? He's got like Stone Pizza now. He got like a whole pizza thing. Yeah. So when we had a package company, I remember when I first heard about your program, and I was like, yo, this is genius. Like, to take that workout sort of dedication, that fast pace, let's get it pumped, and using common aesthetics is just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it's very interesting. We talk at Commissary Club, you know, so we're involved with this, like you five and you too, Coss. I know, you know, this is an ongoing sort of life for us, dealing with criminal justice in general. But, you know, on YouTube, for example, some of the most popular content right now has to do with people who are interested in what is life like in prison. You know? And there seems to be some kind of attraction or interest, and the guys who want to be this tough prison yard body, that they see working out on the weight pile, it's kind of, there seems to be sort of an attraction, to it. Seth, you see that all the time, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I know the bond that was created from the guys that were in prison, that I was with, because you're like, anytime, whether it's a basketball court, whether it's freaking military, whether it's going through whatever challenge, right? You go, okay, cool, I'm down with these guys. We're looking out for each other. You're in survival mode for however many years, right? Just going, okay, let's go day by day and survive. And, and you build that bond, right? It's like, and that's one of the reasons why I get fired up to do, just talk shit. And I haven't seen Coss in forever. Five, official, right? Like, that's why this is fun. It's because it's like, all right, let's just talk shit. And there's days that I'm like, you forget you're even in prison for a while, and that's the best, the best feeling ever. And then, you snap back, and you mentioned visits earlier, like, coming back from the visiting room was just like, it was almost to the point you're just like, man, this is great to see everybody, but fuck, I can't.
I didn't want, but did you want visits, D, when you were down?
Yeah, I was so far away from home, man. I really didn't get many visits. But, I had a 3-year-old son when I left. So I was always like, really like, thinking about him and wanting to see him. I just never got those visits, never got that really family support. My mother was addicted to drugs. Most of my family dysfunctional. So I never got them visits, nor, I never really got family support. So my support was, at 12 cents an hour until I got in Unicor, making, $100 a month, building it up. And that's what I survived on. Really,
I hate Unicor.
Unicor, for those who don't know, is this like separate kind of standalone business that the prison system, the federal prison system operates. And really another name for it is slave labor.
Yeah,
because they have the inmates making literally almost nothing. And for them, that almost those few pennies an hour is actually all the money in the world. When you don't have money to buy toothpaste in the commissary,
But let's describe it as what it is, Richard. Like, really, it is.
Go ahead.
The most successful company and corporation in America. It is 100% profitable. That means whatever they make 100% return. Every bar of soap, even Cordcraft, the individual systems, every item is already paid for. It is one of the most successful businesses when you have people that have a need and you are niching to their human needs, like food.
What does that speak to? Yeah. What is that part of? What's the bigger truth there?
That capitalism and slavery still exists, right? That forced labor still exists, right? Like the facility he's working for, because I have a whole art exhibit on this called State Property, where people are state property and they make the property for the state. And so the federal, state, and city facilities literally create all of the products that go to the federal, state, and city facilities. So you're making all of the items for, like in New York State with Cordcraft, you're making all the items for the school, you're making the court desks, the doorknobs, the divider in the bathroom, the toilet tissue holder,
the mattresses,
the chemical hand pump, all of that stuff. Chairs, desks, everything that the city and state use, you do. In New York, it's a little different, microcosmic. So you're in the projects, right? I'm sitting on a bench. Let's just say I'm John Doe. Cops come, they lock me up. I'm like, what do they throw me against the brick wall? I go to jail. I go to the yard. The CO jumps out on me. Where's your ID? What are you talking about? That's how I got to jail. They throw me against the wall. That wall is made by the same contractor. The buildings are built by the same people, the same elevator company. The products and the chemicals that we're forced to make goes to the housing project. It goes to NYCHA, it goes to the federal buildings and the school buildings. These are the chemical products that are made. The textiles, we're making the uniforms of all of the government and state employees.
Right.
And so it's labor.
Did you work in Unicor?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I worked in Unicor. That's how I was able to survive.
What'd you make then?
I was able to build up to like I think like it's like grade. I got to grade 1 because you know how they have so many grades they can give you. I got to grade 1, making about $100 a month, and I lived off that. I survived off that because I had nobody sending me money.
Yeah.
So that's like $109 an hour.
What'd you produce?
Right.
What were you guys doing?
Oh, we was doing at one time I was doing we were building the desks that the federal government would order for the for government. So we would build the petitions. We would also I ended up doing we did the mail bags. We would repair mail bags for the U.S. mail system.
Yeah, McDonald's
mail bags,
all that.
So
yeah, and then we would also I was working in the warehouse learning to drive I was driving a forklift, in a warehouse doing the petitions and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The cubicle boards or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
so in prison.
Richard, do you remember when we went to New Orleans and we went to the convention?
Oh God, you and I went.
And
We
so
went to this convention.
You guys were speaking?
What's that?
You guys were speaking?
Yeah.
Were we speaking?
I think it was
Yeah.
in a,
We went to some. It was really one of the most disgusting events.
Oh,
I've
you
ever
went to a
done.
corrections convention.
It
Yeah.
was exactly.
Yeah, I've been to one
And
of those.
it was companies that made concertina barbed wire, that made
come
restraint,
on.
Yeah.
that made the chairs they put people with electric.
Yo, what? Did you guys get
What?
the black box?
Yep.
Did you ever get the
So
black
we-
box?
So, huh?
Did you ever get that black box that they put?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
of course, yeah, get the black box.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the black box.
This was a
heard-
convention of all the companies that supply the whole prison system.
So,
Why did
so
you guys go there?
I don't know.
we went over there for the 5 Ventures to talk.
Oh,
And so when we were walking down the marketplace, they were stopping Richard and I.
That's
And they were like, "Where you
crazy.
from?" And we're like, "From New York." And they're like, "New York needs this. We got the new electrical baton. This will protect."
That's a
it."
fact.
you
That's a
need
fact.
wow.
Hustle's
They're
coming out
selling the
flavors.
shit with a smile.
They
They
thought you were
started
part of the prison complex.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
yeah. Like, yeah, there was, so they had the van, they had the actual new
van.
patio where they could fit more people, and it looked like a metal box, and they're like, "You want to come in this? You can actually sit more people in here now. We made it
What?
more
Yeah,
convenient."
the roll cage. Yeah.
That's sad, man. That's
was
crazy
crazy.
that even exists. That's crazy.
It was really, we were there because we were coming on behalf of the 5 Ventures. that
Right, right, of course.
Programming that goes into prisons. So we wanted to sell it to these different prisons. And it was, like Coss was saying, we'd walk down the aisle and they go, "Have you ever seen our stun gun?" And they'd poke you with it. And they,
What?
what the fuck, man? And if I try to treat people. I mean, I don't want to make judgments on people, but these were a fucking convention load of pigs is the only way I can.
Oh, absolutely. I would have went off on him. I would like, you serious?
Well, that
I'm
would be
trying
the
to think
wrong
of
place
how
to go off on.
He was saying, come on, Seth. That's a house of horrors.
You be in that black box again too, like shit.
Yeah.
Black
Just
box,
get-
yeah.
Nah,
I'm trying to
Oh,
remember
man.
what film we did. I think it was The House I Live In. It was either The House I Live In or America Divided. But one of the film projects that we were doing production on was doing this huge research on that and about the jail systems and this sort of market of privatized businesses and corporations that just create these products. And of course, New York is like the #1 buyer of everything. Like, that's a new stunt shield. Let's get that. Like, it's amazing what we use
New York
for
is
punishment
brutal.
and how much profit off of it is,
I-
you know?
I-
Like the Target shields are all silhouettes of profile pictures. They're all people previously incarcerated. Every target that is made for law enforcement and government. It's huge. I'll send
Are
you a
you
link for it. But
serious?
you have a whole exhibit. It's called Made in the USA, and then it's state property, which is a traveling exhibit about people in state property. And we have all of the products that are made in prison.
Yeah, please share that. Please share that, Five. I want to see that.
Hey,
Yeah.
I want to share, speaking of sharing, some comments that some folks who are in our group here now have put in the chat room here that are just
About 15. Wow.
some of them are pretty just amazing comments. From Kerry, who is an amazing woman who works at the Marshall Project, writing about criminal justice that some of us know. She writes, in Texas state prisons, they don't even pay prisoners at all for their work.
Nope.
Not even the bullshit 12 cents an hour or whatever.
Hey, that's what I was getting.
Facts.
And then Dawn writes, in Oklahoma, we made $8 a month.
Wow.
$8
Yeah, you
a
get
month.
16
These are
cents
people
in New York.
working full time. I mean, when Five calls it, slavery. I mean, that's not just over the top.
Because you're going to the
rhetoric.
box. If you don't work, you're going to box.
Yeah.
You're going to punishment.
And the implications are that when you're in prison, for those listening who don't know, and I think most people do here know, so forgive me for stating the obvious, but prisons have a commissary where you can buy things like soap and deodorant and toothpaste and batteries for your radio and flip-flops, stuff like that you don't get. They don't give them to you. If you don't have it, you're not going to brush your teeth. So you need to have a source of money. And some people are lucky enough to have people on the outside, who will send in money into your commissary account, $100 a month or whatever. And many people don't have that luxury. So they have to work. And, for $8 a month. I mean, can you just imagine?
Well, in New York State, working is mandatory. So there is no choice. You're going to do something or you're going to the box. That's just what it is.
You got to work. You got to work.
You have to
Up
work.
at 5 a.m.
That's
your
a
ass
part
got to
of it.
work.
Number two, it's sort of a microcosmic about explaining literally what the prison industrial complex is, right? So in New York State, let's just take Auburn as a microcosmic. There's a store inside of Auburn Correctional Facility. So not only does the federal funding that comes for that person, like consensus-wise, comes to that county. So that means when the person leaves Brooklyn, Brooklyn loses a person off their census, so they're not getting the federal funding for that. They're getting money for that person in Attica, in Auburn. So Auburn gets the money for the people of color in that facility. Then there's a store. The store is only a satellite of the business that's outside. So the neighborhood grocery store has a neighborhood grocery store inside the prison. Right. And the prison runs the store. The prison makes the profit. So Auburn sells you the products that you need and the ones that you obviously don't need. It's crazy.
Yo, man, that's crazy, man.
And the products that are sold, if you could imagine,
like toilet paper,
the oil brands.
That's crazy, man.
You gotta buy it.
They get you, but what they give you is like 3 times the cost it would be at anywhere, and it's like some off-brand, like third-rate battery. Like
most of the time because it's donated. Most time because it's donated. So it's donated to the prison, and then the prison sells it for a profit.
Yeah.
Right. Does anybody remember the Bob Barker products?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. That's what we
know. Right. The Price is Right guy, Bob Barker.
Actually, that's not true. But
it's not him.
No, it's not him. It's another guy who's actually
it's a different Bob Barker.
Okay.
But I used to love that because it
prison myth, huh? Another prison myth.
That's a prison myth.
I really thought it was the Price is Right guy. Like,
that's what I thought too.
The rumor was.
Now, don't get me wrong. It was
another prison myth is debunked only on the yard.
Mythbusters.
Yeah.
Hey, we're here to bring truth.
Exactly. We bring the truth, Richard, the truth to fruition.
Important issues. Which of Bob Barker? All right, so let me ask you another question. So we were talking about birthdays and celebration of birthdays. And to me, like that leads to holidays in general. And we're in the holiday season. And, the celebration of holidays. And to me, that was the saddest time of the year. That was the saddest time, that for people who are celebrating Christmas or Thanksgiving, where you're sitting around talking about what are you thankful for? And people like having a lot of trouble figuring out an answer to that question. Do you remember celebrating holidays? And to me, I would have been happier not to have the holiday even exist then, To me, that contrast between making believe we're happy and festive and what the reality of our life was, it was just too jarring to me. Did you have that experience, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, it was all the time, but it was, when I first got to the camp, I got there a day before Thanksgiving, and I came from the shithole La Tuna in Texas and El Paso. That was just terrible. And getting to the camp, like, it's all about perspective, right? Because we got there and they had a real turkey, they had real food, and I had just been eating like bullshit for the last year and a half. And I get there, I'm like looking around like, this has got to be a mistake. Like, where the hell are we? So it's like having that perspective. That's kind of the in my opinion, the summary of prison in general, right? It's like, it was great because it gives us perspective. Like,
holidays,
it doesn't get worse than that shit. You know what I mean? And now it's like, all right, cool. Holidays now. It's like, yeah, we're locked down right now. but it's way better than being locked down inside. Shit.
Hey, Richard, we have a question. Someone asked, so what is Kefi?
You know what? Do you answer it?
I mean, yeah, I mean, Kefi it's a company that basically made products. A lot of it was for prison.
Keef's
Yeah,
Kitchen
Keef's
got
Kitchen,
the
right,
federal
exactly.
contract when George Bush wanted to be president, and his brother Jeb Bush, who was at the time the CEO of the company. So in order to secure the vote for Florida, he literally gave him the federal contract. So after that, Keef's Kitchen was one of the Fed contracts. That's and crazy, there's another one called Fresh Catch, and there's another company that's under their conglomerate, and so that's under the federal system.
So Five, you're telling me politicians actually own these companies, own shares in these companies?
Of course, that's who owns these companies, besides the ex-COs and the sheriffs and the other legislators who are part of the criminal justice committees on other platforms. So it's incredible how the prison industrial complex is right in front of people's eyes sometimes. When you look at that's why we came home to create our own package company and sort of
What's a package company? What is a package company?
So a package company is a company that makes profit off of sending people grocery packages because you have to order food. So most people in New York State get 35 pounds. You're used to be able to get 35 pounds a month. And so people would come to but our business went out of business. I'm going to be honest. People would come in my warehouse. I'd be like, all right, just go send 35 pounds to your husband. Don't worry about it. Just pay the postage or whatever. Yeah. Because people are starving. I've been in those cells where that was the only food you was able to get. Or the COs decided to damage the food that are there. And, the other thing is that New York switched from food to Quick Chill. And so Quick Chill is soy-based. You get no protein, you get no meat, you get no real products, you get bread with no starch, you don't get milk. Like, it's a lot of things that deficient your body. But they sell you 1 a days. Wow. You can get protein powder, right? You want to do that, you can buy it. You want to buy real food, we got a can. No, it's not tuna, it's like Una. It's like a cheap version. It's called Una. We got the cheap version.
They took the tea off, so you don't get the tea protein.
Right. And you get that for like $2 a can. Like, what? It's like my mother's paying less than that in Price Chopper. Like, yeah, no, they don't care.
All right, but let's go. I want to go back to holidays. I want to go to holidays. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was really a community effort in the state. Like, I'm not gonna lie. You had groups, you had gangs, you had organizations, you had community groups, you had tiers. Like, I lived on the 6th floor. And they was collaborating on a tier to cook for that day. I didn't get packages. So people were like, oh, Five, could I get a package in your name? I need to get some like extra stuffing and stovetop stuffing and rice in. And they would cook for everybody. When we cooked by the 5-gallon bucket. We used to cook rice and feed everybody. So,
where I was, they, if you were Native American, there was a holiday that they would celebrate. And it allowed you to do some kind of like thing, create a fire outside and do some kind of
smokehouse,
a smokehouse thing. And then, for the Jewish guys on Passover, they allowed certain food to come in, and different religions had different sort of, opportunities to get something a little special. So there was this one guy in prison. He was this big, tough Italian guy, an older guy, and I think his name was Parisi, Joe Parisi or something. But Joe Parisi's scam was so classic. Right before every holiday, he would go to the pastor and he would say, I want to convert to Native American. Because he wanted to take part in the festivities that the Native Americans were having, which meant like all this kind of cool food and whatever. And then he became Jewish so that he could participate in the food from Passover. And then he would become Catholic again because it was a Christmas dinner with a ham or whatever. And he had every year like 6 or 7 religions that he was converting to. And everybody knew what he was doing, but it was such a great scam, they let him get away with it.
Could never do that in New York State. Never. You get one religion and that is it.
Well, they do that.
Everything was a struggle.
They do that where people switch to ID cards. You have the orange ID card if you're a Christian. Then you have like the Muslim ID card, which is like, I don't know, red. And then you have like the blue one. And so people take advantage but to get the kosher meals.
Oh, okay.
So people mainly did the Muslim ones to do the beef patties,
no pork.
patties,
halal,
the halal patties. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was different in the state, man. It was a struggle. So they didn't really provide us with food, even though the outside masjids would come in. For us, the temple would bring us matzah crackers, and we're supposed to have a seder, and it would be a fight. And so the CEO was like, okay, we're gonna let you have this service, even though it's a fight. You have to fight for the permit to have your service. It's not just given to you. And then they drug tested the entire temple afterwards because the matzah crackers had poppy seeds, so everybody got tickets. It became, it's like that. And even the outside masjids can't send in food. So in the state, it's different. You know, in New York, it's a little bit more oppressive. So you would see these amazing remixes of food. You would see these amazing sort of cooking. They get the kitchen, they get the chicken, they would try to cook it themselves, and they would remix the meals. And so every holiday was a struggle inside, but it was always this sort of combative moment with security. For festivals, for events, for family visits, you know, holidays, they cut your visit down to like 20 minutes because more people are coming. So it was difficult in New York State, but there was different organizations like Osborne came in and was like, okay, we're going to take this side of the visiting room for the kids. And that made a dramatic difference. So people with families literally had the ability to have at least a safe space, you know? Yeah.
So were holidays a good thing in prison or a bad thing? For me, I didn't like it.
Nah, it was bad because it was always locked down. So New York State, in the States, in the Maxes, it's no festivals, there's no events. You're getting locked in 23 hours. So that's a lockdown. The guards are having a party.
No advantage there.
Yeah, no.
But
But we did the best of
Divine?
it.
I mean, did you look forward to when there were holidays? Or
I
would
mean,
you prefer-
really, man, I wasn't too deep in the holidays like that anyway. But like, you know, it always brought back just the memories of, you know, my youth, my childhood, when I be home with the family and all of that. But I kind of blocked all that out, man. I focused on like just self-development and really focusing on spirituality and trying to just better myself and get home, man. Honestly.
Did you guys get anything special on the commissary during the holidays?
Always,
Ben
man.
and Jerry's.
Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's always switched the
Oh, yeah,
flavors
Ben
during
and
the
Jerry's
holiday because
more.
they did time. They did time before.
We got
So
a dozen those what's that donut that popular donut chain?
Cream.
Krispy
Cream.
Kreme?
Just be
Krispy
cream.
Kreme. They gave
We got that too.
They had two different things. They had during the summer, they gave everybody a watermelon.
What?
Watermelon.
What the fuck?
And then during Christmas time, they gave you a dozen of these Krispy Kreme donuts. And
Donuts?
Wow.
and that was it. And it was like
So there was a
Merry
thing called
Christmas,
the
everyone.
inmate.
We had a rabbi who was locked up.
Fund. In the feds, it was like it was called IMF, Inmate Monetary Fund.
Right.
And I was at Fort Dix, and they actually used the Inmate Monetary Fund, was funded by the tickets you got when you went to the visiting to take pictures with your family. So we would use the money from the Inmate Monetary Fund, and we got like Kentucky Fried Chicken one time. It all came in. We ordered Domino's. You order it, it comes in. Yo, it was crazy in Jersey, man. You gotta give it up to Jersey, man.
So a lot of people.
Bean pies.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Five. A lot of people. It's interesting. A lot of people who are listening in here have raised points regarding the COVID, pandemic, and its implications to criminal justice in general. And, I think we all could go on and on talking about the Petri dish, reality that anybody who's locked up has to go through. But what's happening is, some people are being let out, including someone I think who's a friend of ours who's in the group here, Craig. Hey, Adrian, could you ask Craig if he could join us? Craig was with us last week, and Craig was a pot dealer, big fucking deal, or LSD dealer maybe it was, and he received a life sentence, but he was let out recently for,
Craig.
Welcome home.
Is Craig here?
I'm here.
Hey, there he is. How are you, brother?
I'm well. But under the First Step Act,
Right.
which allowed federal prisoners to earn a bunch of time on home confinement. So it opened up a bunch of stuff for home confinement,
Wow.
at least to some federal inmates.
Wow.
Okay, so is that under those auspices, have you been released, or is it Corona related at all?
Well, that was the first part. Then under the CARES Act, which Trump signed into law on March 27th, it allowed the Attorney General to send people in joints that were getting hit with the COVID. So if people were exceptionally vulnerable to COVID, like in my case, over 60 and diabetic, and they were like low custody or below, they were no threat to society. I was
Oh,
0
low custody,
points.
okay.
Even though a lifer, I was 0 points. I had a bunch of support from the street and all that, and Attorney General Barr himself recommended that I go to home confinement, and I walked out of USP Terre Haute on June 16th of this year. I'm still on home confinement right now.
Yo, but I saw your picture the other day about you barbecuing in the backyard.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I saw that too.
That was my first weekend out.
Stop complaining, it looked pretty good.
Good.
It was Father's Day.
Welcome
How
home.
many birthdays did you have while you were down, Craig?
19 of them.
19 of them.
And remember, now they can call me back later this year if COVID, goes away. So that's what we're fighting right now. Is they wrote rules that they could send us out, but they've never really decided what to do with us once we're out. What the BOP did is, if you go on BOP.gov inmate locator, they show me with an out date, the end of 2017.
Huh. Congratulations, you've been out. Didn't you know?
But it shows me, on home confinement till then, and then starting supervised release.
Wow.
Oops.
Damn.
But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'm out here to prove something, that this can be done, that people can go to home confinement and they won't fuck up.
Right.
That they're gonna, that we're gonna do well, because
Amen.
if I fuck up, it hurts everybody that's in the joint.
I'm so glad you've seen it like that, man.
I have the longest term of home confinement of all the federal prisoners,
Yeah.
And so, like I say, that's putting a bunch on my shoulders. I got to get it right,
Got you, bro.
Please do, man. Our brothers and sisters, man, need that, man. We need a win.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are you allowed to work now, Craig?
Yes, although I've had 2 job offers and they said no. The one, I got a nice job offer for the Last Prisoner Project, who has a bunch of money behind them. Their goal is to get all marijuana offenders out of prison and look out for them when they hit the street.
Yep.
And the BOP says, no, I can't work for them because that goes against the BOP's interests.
Right.
What? Yeah, you working a legitimate job, getting paid, goes against the interest.
Yeah.
Of course it
Yeah,
does.
my job would be as a paralegal, doing a lot of legal research and all that. I have a license as a paralegal and everything. I mean, I have a background in it.
Wow.
And it's a work from home job for a guy on home confinement. It seems perfect,
We got to do some work to help you with something.
Yeah, I
Craig.
was gonna say
Yeah.
that. Like, I got
For real, we
something.
need you for real.
Yeah. And if
No,
anybody,
I'm happy to help people,
and if anybody's listening has a line on a job, Craig is an outstanding human being, and arguably has been fucked over as much as anybody out there. And yet, look at him; he's sitting there with a smile on his face. So, that's a man. That's
Like
the way
I say,
do.
I was a
Shit, man,
lifer
for
in the
real.
joint. I could make trouble. And I did. Every joint I was in, the warden knew me by face and name. I mean, I led a bunch of food strikes. I led, changes on the yard. I led, changes where they couldn't give people punishment rations during lockdown. I led a lot of changes where you could make legal calls where they were blocking a lot of them for years. A lot of stuff like that. I could stand up and fight because
Great work, Craig.
and because I kept
What are they going to do to you?
kept my back clean.
Right.
What are they going to do to you?
Great work, Craig. Great work, man.
So, Coss, you told us a little bit about what you're doing, and 5, can you, obviously, you're very, very learned, and, give us an idea of what your work entails and what you're working to achieve.
Yeah, so my time inside and what I do on the outside is not too much different. I did 12 years and they locked me up. Then they let me out when they locked all the cops that locked me up. Subsequently, the entire Schenectady Police Department and other enforcements. But I'm a child of a Panther, so I'm a Cub. My parents are all political prisoners. My uncles, all of my family. I have one back inside right now because he signed the bottom of the consensus form, which technically was a voter registration form. So they locked up my uncle Jalil. So I stand on a different abolition point. I'm not into reforming and making a system more stronger. I'm into abolishing by transforming the prison industrial complex into a place of higher education or higher learning, or a place where you have made a mistake, which is human nature, and you can actually correct it, right? I work mostly providing and creating different right now. My job shoots up and down as the movement grows. So the first couple of years home, we were incubating projects. So I was doing like nonprofit after nonprofit. People are coming home. I'm like, what do you want to do? Come to my office. I got you. I got computer equipment. I'll set you up, help you get incorporated. You're out there. Then I'm going to send you clients later. And so we did that for a few years to build up a huge network. Now we're building alternative to incarceration academies where we create community-based solutions for incarceration. You asked Coss when he came home, does he hang with a lot of people previously incarcerated? I think that's what makes Incarcerated Nation Network different. I work with everybody I did time with. Everybody who I bid it with works with me or for me. We create a sort of safe space. So everybody's like at the office. It's a hangout for different post-incarcerated leaders. And it becomes a space where you come home and people come to our office, they get out, they take out the last 3 pages of their Bible and give it to us because we have package programs and visiting programs and all different type of amenities that their people need to be signed up for. But it sort of alleviates that transfer period where you immediately have to adjust. We keep the sort of prison mentality and how we communicate and how we're very respectful. We keep it on the eye. We all work still in that network together. Creating these projects now, I'm on the stem of creating the business model for each one. And so like Mikey Likes It Academy, he's one of our credible messengers. We started an ice cream business years ago. We tinkered with it. I tinkered with it before Mikey launched. We had a whole Milk Not Jails nonprofit project where we were working with the dairy farmers to sort of decentralize the dairy movement into producing funds for the incarcerated nation in a network. And Mikey's project is Mikey Likes It Academy. So he has an academy that lasts 5 years. In other words, kids get 6 months at Rikers, 5 years on probation. What program runs for 5 years? Who's supporting them for 5 years? Behind the scenes, also developing arches and the other programs, but they only last 6 months. When you're dealing with the city, when you're dealing with the state, they give you bare rations. They give you enough funding that's like $4 a kid. You're able to pay a kid $15 for 1 day. Like, no. This, I double dip my kids. They're employed. We've created college programs for them so they get scholarships for that. And then they're part of the Credible Messenger Training Institute that we have where people are learning about trauma. They're becoming trauma informed. They're working in the public health field.
All right.
And so yeah, a lot.
You're involved with a lot of things.
Well,
so
that's
number
on
one,
Monday.
if somebody needs to connect with you or learn more, where should they go?
Incarcerated Nation Network. That's the .org is the email. Is the website. And from there, you could connect to every project.
All right.
And then 5@incarceratednation.org is my email.
Okay. And I know you'll answer everybody who contacts you because people are asking. We also have in our group, and I think I asked Adrian to see about wrangling them. We have a friend of ours, Jason Wang, who is in San Francisco. Jason, have you joined us? Jason also is a Defy.
What up, baby?
Oh, there he is. Hello, brother.
What's up, man? What's good, baby? Hey.
Jason is in San Francisco. Wow, it looks like you got a nice crib there, pal.
Hey, lots of things have changed since New York, man.
Non-profit's not so bad, I guess. Jason did a bunch of time. Jason was a badass gang member back in the day. And now he has an amazing organization. There happens to be, most people wouldn't know this, but there happens to be this incredible demand for people to drive trucks in this country. And if you have a license, a class 1 license, you could get a job in 2 seconds driving a truck. And there are hundreds of thousands of jobs like this available. So
Yeah.
Jason and the people he's involved with said, you know something, we can train these people. We can train people with records to drive these trucks and give them a path to not just a minimum wage living, but a good living, you know, and they're in demand. Jason, tell them, if you don't mind, tell them Free World is your organization. Tell them what you're doing and what the opportunity is.
Yeah, sure. Just give a little bit of background. My name is Jason. I grew up in poverty, same neighborhoods as probably most of us have grown up in. Went to prison at the age of 15 on a 12-year sentence for first-degree felony aggravated robbery. Going through the prison system, getting out, facing the challenges that I face and what many of us have faced, thought that was total bullshit. You know, we had gone to prison, paid our debt to society, and served our time. But for some reason, we were basically known as modern day lepers for the rest of our lives. And so I've really made ending mass incarceration my life's mission, and I will die trying. I think that we have a model that could work. And the model is really based on the theory that economics is really the core of why people end up going back to prison. And so if you grow up in a neighborhood filled with poverty, low education, very few job opportunities, violence, drugs, then the probability of you getting involved with these activities is actually quite high. And so you get caught up in the system, you come out with a criminal record, all of a sudden you have no job opportunities, you can't access education, all these different services. And so you end up out of desperation, resorting to crime in order to put food on the table. So we essentially created this online remote model where we can serve anybody anywhere across the nation. And what we do is we invest in your education upfront and pay students to go to school to earn their commercial driver's license to work in the trucking industry. And the reason why we did that is because in the trucking industry, there are millions of unfilled positions. And trucking companies are so desperate to hire drivers that have this commercial license that they'll hire anybody regardless of your criminal history. Oh, and by the way, these jobs pay $50,000 to $80,000 plus. We even have graduates who have saved up enough money now to start their own trucking operations and have become owner operators. So what started off as an initial model of just training people to get into good paying jobs to stay out of prison has now evolved into more of a technology solution where we are creating a comprehensive end-to-end solution to basically attack all the major barriers that people face when you get out of prison. As an example, if you don't have housing, we can connect you with housing opportunities. If you don't have transportation, we have a partnership with Lyft where we will literally send a driver to your house and take you wherever you need to go. If you don't have banking, we're actually working on becoming a bank right now to basically give people the access to a banking account, which is the financial foundation that you need to just do anything in life. We've got a wealth management platform where we will basically attach ourselves to all of your financial accounts. We will help you budget, but also invest. So that way you can have something to leave behind for your kids, for your family, or to plan towards retirement.
How many people have gone through your program, Jason?
So we've had over 500 people go through, 103 graduates. This upcoming year will be where we expand the fastest. We've secured quite a bit of funding.
So this is a tech company and it's the real world and it's a career and it's a hell of a lot better than choosing between Burger King and McDonald's.
You damn right.
Look at you motherfucker. Look at what you did. Congratulations.
Hey,
congratulations.
that's
what's up, man.
I'm trying to follow your hustle.
I'm a big fan and you're just getting better and better. I just see you're hitting your stride here. So keep it up. We also have somebody who's really a great person that we should all say hello to. And her name is Carrie. And she is a writer and a journalist, and she works for the Marshall Project.
My sister.
Your sister. Right?
So good to see
Carrie,
y'all.
there she is. Hey, Carrie.
Hey.
And
I feel like
Carrie,
I've written about like a sizable portion of this room.
I know, you're stalking us. Stop it. The Marshall Project, for those of you who don't know, is, well, Carrie will tell you more than I can tell you, but let's just say it is the definitive source for news, for insight, for journalism relating to criminal justice writ large. and they write seminal pieces about serious subjects that are followed widely by anybody who has remote interest in the space. And Kerry is a prominent journalist for them, who has been, writing throughout her career at a variety of prominent publications. And Kerry also has a background in criminal justice personally, so she brings a deep insight into all that. Kerry, I know something that's really important to you, and that relates to community within, folks who have gone through all this, which includes you. How important is community for this population?
I think so. First of all, I think that it's different for women. I mean, not different in terms of the value, but I think the experience of what our community was like on the inside is very different from what it's like for men. Like, I think that I've kept it in pretty close touch with a number of the women I did time with. And I find that, like Coss said, like that's, maybe not as common with men. I also think that, women obviously women's relationships with each other are just fundamentally different than men's are.
How
right?
so? How so?
Well, I think that on a very base level, women relate to each other differently than men do. And I'm not saying one's better or worse, but I think that so in the women's prisons I was in, for instance, in New York, and I don't know to what extent this was the case in other states, we had like families, like you had your sisters and your mother and shit. Like there'd be someone that would be your mother in prison. You call her mom. She'd have like a bunch of other people that, would also be her kids. But it wasn't just like sort of like, hey, cuz or whatever. It was your mother's sister was your aunt. Like it was like actual family structures that I think, have the effect of sort of replicating what women are missing, because I think a lot of women, well, statistically, a lot of women left behind kids. I don't have kids, wasn't close to my family before prison. But I also think that, we had a phrase, gay for the stay, straight at the gate. I don't think
Say that again. Can you repeat that?
Gay for the stay, straight at the gate. Like everybody had a prison girlfriend. And sometimes y'all were just, friends. Sometimes you were like making out, sometimes you're having sex under the bunks. But I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that men are all just cool with we're going to be gay for the rest of our prison sentence, right? I think I understand that there's some people that do that, but I don't think that's like broadly just we're cool with that. That's what we're doing.
Seth?
Right.
Toxically.
I'll go under the bus right now. Yeah, sure.
Hyper masculine toxic in prison. That's what I could say. Hyper masculine toxic.
At the same time, though, I've never heard so many guys tell me like, "Oh, I'm just like this in here." I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, come on.
Right. Right. But this wasn't like, I feel like the prevalence of it is something that I don't hear from men, even though, like, yes, there are men that, you hear about, that I hear about anyways, that, say they did that only in prison. And there's actually some really cute stories. I know one woman that got out and then kept dating she came out in prison and she started dating the girl in prison, and then they stayed together and they came out, and it was so cute.
That's so interesting. So, I mean, this is like a whole subject here, but it's almost like, you're suggesting.
I think I've written about it somewhere. Let me see if I can find the essay. I'll put it in the comments.
Whereby these women go to prison and they have the opportunity to experience a family life that they didn't have before.
In some cases it's that they didn't have. In some cases, I think to some extent it's, trying to fill the void, like trying to replicate what they're not getting because they're not around their family on the outside. And so I say all this to say that I think that the nature of the relationships is different, and I'm not in any way saying that it's better or worse. I just think, that the nature of how women relate to one another is different. So I think that also means that the way in which we keep, the extent and the way in which we keep in touch on the outside is different. or different from what I'm hearing you guys describe. I haven't actually like talked to a lot of men about what their relationships have looked like with the people they did time with out after prison, with the exception of people like, you know, Five or like Johnny or like somebody that is working in the criminal justice space, which, you know, if you're keeping in touch with people for that reason is probably a little different. You know, so yeah, I don't know. I think it's different, but certainly important. There's just no one else that understands us, right? No one else that understands what we've been through.
Yeah, who else would? So Carrie, we started the conversation earlier talking about birthdays. So you spent a few birthdays while you were down, correct?
Yes, I did. I had I had some in jail and some in prison.
So tell me, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this because we talked about this earlier.
You mind going there?
I do not. I do not.
Did I not warn you in advance? So Carrie.
So
Oh, she just muted herself.
No.
What happened? Carrie, you muted yourself. Are we censoring this conversation? Hello?
There you go. I didn't know where.
Carrie, are you there?
Yeah, she's unmuted.
there we go. Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay, it was telling me I couldn't unmute, but anyways, Zoom did not like what I had to say.
Really?
So, so the 1 year, like I had, you know, my prison girlfriend made me, you know, cheesecake like y'all described with the Chico sticks and shit. But the other year, when I was in jail, one of the girls that, you know, drew cards and shit, she was like, "Here, I'm gonna give you the one thing you can't get in jail." So she drew me this card, which I actually probably have here somewhere, with this like very well rendered veiny dick. Like it was a really good drawing of a dick. Like it was fucking impressive. Okay? Like it was erect and there were many veins on it, and like with pencil, contraband pencil, because we couldn't have pencil in jail. So she like stole a pencil to draw this fucking dick.
Wow.
It just needed to come out, I guess.
Birthday.
So yeah, did you say happy birthday, Coss?
Yeah.
And did that provide some solace on your birthday?
I mean, it was funny. You know, the best holiday, I've also written about this before. The best holiday when I was locked up was Super Bowl. You know, because in the jail that I was in, they treated that like a holiday. Like that was the only time of year that they would order pizza for everyone. And I think I got arrested in December, so I hadn't been in that long at that point. But like from as soon as I got in, everybody was talking about Super Bowl, Super Bowl. This is a women's pod. We didn't give a shit about fucking football, you know? And we were so thrilled that we were going to get pizza and just, you know, a night where they just weren't gonna fuck with us because, you know, they wanted to watch the game too and were just leaving us alone. And I think like all the other holidays, you know, you remember things from the outside. There's people you miss people on Thanksgiving and on Christmas. Like you miss family and, you know, or, you know, maybe you don't miss family. I don't know. But, you know, you have traditions and there's things you miss. And I think like the lesser holidays are the ones that are easier in prison. Like, you know, I don't know, Memorial Day, July 4th, those are the ones you could have like picnics and like, sure, you had traditions in the free world and you miss them, but not in the same way. And Super Bowl sort of falls into that. Like, sure, we went to parties and shit like on the free world, but you know, it wasn't like a major holiday in the way that you're missing friends and family and like the whole world is sort of celebrating this together. So I think those lesser holidays that were like free of the baggage of, you know, memories from the free world were so much easier in prison, especially when they actually gave you pizza at the same time.
Pizza was the big thing. Well, This has been so, you know, it's so interesting doing this, and this is only our second episode. And, you know, I say that almost as an apology for, you know, kind of, we're figuring things out about how to do this and where we can provide value and also have fun, quite frankly, because it's at the end of the day. And, you know, I'm enjoying a drink after a tough day, and I'm with some incredible people. So, you know, I want to enjoy myself, and I want this to be a fun thing for everybody to participate in. And yet everybody here is serious about their work. You know, they're serious about what they do. They have a sense of humor about themselves. And to me, you know, that's a great mix and a great potential. So we're just going to get better and better. But I think anybody who would listen in would recognize that there are some really amazing people, truly heroic, exceptional people who, however it happened, ended up, you know, going through this system and have come out of it. And we talk about this at work all the time, how so many of them come out of it, and yet they feel a commitment to help their brothers and sisters, you know, and not desert them. You might think the inclination would be to put it behind and I never want to think about this again. But in fact, you know, there is this sense of brotherhood and sisterhood, and, you know, and no one's going to look after us but us. Yeah. And, you know, we're working on this Commissary Club as a social network that's based upon the premise that people come out of prison or jail, and, you know, all too often they lead these sort of desperate, solitary lives, you know, lurking in the shadows, ashamed, fearful of emerging. And it sort of prevents them from ever coming together, that connection gap that exists, you know, to hook each other up, to look after each other. And I can't think of a better thing than all of us could be doing, because we're doing it or trying to do it. It's frustrating, but we're doing it, where we're trying to connect people and be available to each other. Yeah. And to do it not out of misery, but out of sort of a sense of pride. You know, I tell people, they ask me my advice. I say, first of all, be proud of who you are. You went through something. You gained strength and wisdom that few people will ever come to understand. And when it comes time for you to go on a job interview, if you're not looking that person in the eye and telling them, you're damn right that happened. I made a mistake as a kid. If you didn't make a mistake as a kid, you're full of shit. I know we all do. We're human beings, but I came out on the other side of it. And I'm here to tell you, you know, that I learned and I grew and I understand things, you know, and if that ain't right for you, then you're right. It's not a good fit.
Yeah. Can I say Carrie is an amazing organizer? I know she's not going to say this, but like years ago, maybe like a while ago, she like literally signed the entire state of Ithaca, the whole county up in like one email. I get an email from her like, yeah, we signed the bill. And I'm like, okay, which legislator? She's like, no, I got everybody to sign it. Every city councilman, every assemblyman.
Yeah. But, you know, I know Jason, and he's doing amazing stuff. And I know Coss, and he looks to hire people to bring him into his business and to give them an opportunity and a life, and to sort of demystify this whole experience that he went through. And, you know, like Coss is an amazing entrepreneur. He would have been Mark Zuckerberg if his life had, you know, begun differently. You know, and Jason, I know that too. And Seth, well, Seth was a successful ball player. So can you stand up for a second, Seth?
You won't be able to tell nothing here. There's some
I'm sorry.
You're gonna get a waist shot right now. You're gonna get a waist shot.
Just so everyone knows, this guy is 7'1".
Right.
All right, just so we get that out of the way.
That's what I forgot about in prison. Just speaking of that, is like you go in there and like for 2 weeks, everybody's like, "Oh, how tall are you? How tall are you?" And then that's it, because everybody's the same. Like nobody does anymore. When I first got out, I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that." Yeah, I'm tall.
Yeah. Your nickname in prison was 7, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. So in any event, I'm inspired when I hear Kerry talk, and I hear Coss talk, and I hear Five talk, and I hear Jason talk, and I hear Craig talk, what he's been through. And, you know, if people don't know folks who've been through this, they're missing out. You know, they're just incredible, heroic people, you know, who've been through so much, and yet every single one of them right now has a smile on their face. You know, and if people don't get them, fuck them, as far as I'm concerned, because you're all just, You know, I'm proud to know you, and I'm proud to work with these folks. So where's Divine? You still there? D? My
Yeah,
friend
he's muted.
Divine, are you muted? No, I didn't even see you.
Can you hear me?
No,
Yeah.
now we can. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Do you have anything you want to say in closing, D?
Yo, just thank you everybody for coming through the yard, hanging out with us, you know, listen what we have to say and supporting us. Please definitely, like, you know, spread the word, man. The yard is here to stay. We're building something great at Commissary Club. We have a very diverse team. Our hand is on the pulse of culture. We have a great leader in Richard. And you know, we have special guests here every week. We're looking forward to keeping this going. And I see a lot of the comments. People are supportive. People are really digging this. So let's keep it going, man.
Yeah, Seth, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo that, like this is I feel like this is the brotherhood, and male or female, it's like still in that same brotherhood, right? Like this is like family. This is like the fun times. We get to talk shit, like, you know, hang out and chop it up and go, oh man, that sucked, or you know, this is great now. But I mean, there's a lot of like power here. There's a lot of good, you know, just good-hearted people that I'm you know, it's the holidays, and I'm happy to call y'all family. So
Yeah,
great.
and that's a great point, Seth. In the holidays, that could be a tough time for a lot of people, particularly people on their own.
Yeah.
It's a good time to, you know, sort of check in with people, you know. And see
Shout
if
out
there's-
Shelly Winner, pardon me.
Sorry, say that again.
I was shouting out Shelly Winner. She's in the audience.
So,
Oh, Shelly is here. All right.
Shelly.
I'm sure you've done a story on her too, Kerry, right? Shelly Winner.
I don't think I have actually.
Oh.
Uh-oh, sounds like a connection.
I'm gonna hook a sister up.
It gotta happen.
Coss, my friend. First of all, you want to see somebody funny get drunk? Well, there's two people here. Well, three people. I've gotten drunk with Seth. Seth will have like one half of a wine spritzer and be on the floor passed out. I've seen Coss in New Orleans, like just like make believe he was some character wearing a costume.
I grabbed the fucking
The washboard or
the
something.
in the washboard in the club.
Yeah, he started.
I started
And I've been with Divine, where he and I seriously overdrank, and ultimately he passed out. Kerry, I've never had the pleasure yet with you, but I look forward to it. But I and Five as well. You guys are just amazing, and we're so appreciative that you would take some time to join us and be part of our family. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. And you know, I'm not sure. I think we're taking off a little time because of the holidays. But thank you so much for being supportive of all we're doing. If you got a record, go to Commissary Club, please. It's something we're building. It's not there yet, but we've made amazing progress. We have thousands of people on the site, people who are just amazing, who are, you know, we're finding a home together. We think there's a great opportunity here, and, you know, to change the world. Shelly, there is Ms. Winner. Hello, how are you? How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Shelly is an amazing person who is a TED Talk speaker and who's done. Hey, Jeremiah, how are you?
Hey,
Husband and wife. These two got married in prison, or he proposed in prison to her.
He did.
So very romantic. But we're going to have you on another time. But thank you all for joining us. Please tell other people about it. You know, we're a family. Nobody else will have us. You know, we got to have each other, right?
Thank you for
Be well, stay safe. We're almost out of this coronavirus thing. All right. Everybody have a great night. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Night.
Thanks, everybody.